Over the past few weeks, I've been playing around with several different iterations and expressions of a new PvP build that I felt had some great potential, and after fine-tuning it and working at the kinks, I eventually landed on the combination of weapons, abilities, and perks that made it all come together. And just this weekend on stream, people got to see it in action as we dropped 40 bombs, even 50 kill games using the build. I've lovingly dubbed the build Child Support, and you'll see why. But before we dive into the specifics of the build, let me go over the rules, or rather the tenets of the build. So first, we're going to split the enemy's focus, so we aren't the only thing that they need to worry about. Second, we're going to pounce on the enemy when our distraction is in place and use the free information that our distraction gives us to locate the target quickly and eliminate them. Third, we're going to retrieve our distraction and also begin chaining kills with extra damage and health regeneration. So, split focus, pounce and capitalize, retrieve and chain. That's the loop. Those are the rules that we're going to be playing by. Now we'll begin with the focal point of the build as we break the whole thing down, so let's start with the exotic armor. The key exotic armor piece for this build is the gauntlets that came out last season for the Warlock, the Briarbinds. These things, hey, they look awesome. I very much like the aesthetic, but the thing that's cool about them is that they can enhance the Child of the Old God's Void Soul ability in a number of different big ways. So the exotic perk, one with the Void, reads, your Void Souls have longer duration. They also gain escalating damage and durability as they defeat targets. You can retrieve your Void Souls by interacting with them, allowing them to be redeployed. So that's longer duration, extra health, extra damage, and can bypass the cooldown by retrieving it and resetting the timer. So our child is going to be putting in some serious work, but we also need to take advantage of it. We need to support it. Hence the name, Child Support. It supports us, but we also support it. Look at it go! I get this guy very weak, but he rounds the corner and he's baiting it with a shotgun, but my baby's all like, hey, nobody picks a fight with my daddy, and it follows him in and it kills him without me having to get myself in danger. Then I can go in, pick up the baby, but also now I have Devour active, and that's a good segue into the rest of the build. So let's talk aspects and fragments. I'm using the Healing Rift, Burst Glide, Pocket Singularity, and Suppressor Grenades. Now, I know that scatters are really strong right now. If you'd prefer to go with those, then go for it, but I really enjoy shutting down supers. In fact, there's a nice 3-piece on Dead Cliffs in here somewhere where I suppress a Titan out of his Arc Super and then chain some sick kills. So for aspects, I'm obviously using Child of the Old Gods, and I'm also using Feed the Void. I want to get Devour active when my baby kills things or I finish someone off with an ability of any kind. Devour is going to synergize extremely well with my weapon of choice, specifically the weapon I'm using most, which is my heliocentric with kill clip and enlightened action. So that combination solves all the problems of kill chaining, right? If you're going to take on multiple enemies in rapid succession, then you're going to need health, because people aren't going to wait for you to just, take a timeout and recover your HP. You're going to need to top off your magazine, and you're going to need to be able to ready your weapon very fast, and you're also going to need to be able to dish out extra damage than normal to make up for the lost time in duels with follow-up targets. We've got all of those covered here. Devour will give us full health the instant we get a final blow. Kill Clip will give us extra damage against subsequent opponents. Enlightened Action will give us extremely fast reload speeds and handling speeds as we're doing damage. If you don't have this weapon, don't fret. You can always use something like a Kill Clip Shayura's Wrath or even a Kill Clip 18 Kelvins from collections. There's no shortage of great kill chaining rolls on sidearms and SMGs out there. I also really like a Kill Clip Swift Verdict sidearm from the Prophecy dungeon. Moving on to fragments, I'm running Echo of Expulsion because it makes targets explode when a void ability kills them. I've actually gotten a lot of extra damage and even some full kills with this explosion recently, especially with my child in there getting final blows from time to time. Then I've got Echo of Instability. This works really well if you're using a void weapon, but for me, I'm primarily using it for the extra strength because I rely a lot on my Pocket Singularity to disrupt the intended path of opponents or to shove them out of the way from corners that they're baiting with a shotgun. I use it very frequently. Next is Echo of Starvation. Picking up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power queues up Devour. It's worth the recovery penalty to me. More ways to get full health and queue up Devour on the field is a big win. And finally, Echo of Leeching, which gives me a resilience buff as well as health on melee kills. So let's hit that gameplay loop. Then we'll fill in a couple of the smaller gaps in the build. So what we're going to be doing is you want to find a good place to post up just before a fight. So anticipate an encounter, post up with the healing rift. This is your fallback position if you need one. Then we're going to initiate contact and send out our child. Once the child goes out, peek back into cover and wait for it to get into position. This is the safest approach, but by all means, if you got the drop on them, then sprint in alongside your baby if the opportunity is there. But once the baby is in place, it's going to give the enemy another problem to deal with, right? If they don't shoot the baby or disengage, then they'll be consistently taking a considerable amount of damage. And that damage is absolutely enough to change my weapon TTK, shaving down the number of bullets I need to land to secure the kill. So they need to either deal with me, or deal with the baby, or try to juggle dealing with both at the same time, or try to run away. Once I've won the fight, I can simply interact with the baby to retrieve it so it's ready for the next fight. I reload my weapon so I'm ready for another enemy, and maybe I've got kill clip up now too. Sometimes though, the first target will run away. So I grab my baby and send him out again for the second time on the same target. And I can only imagine how absolutely infuriating that must be for them to run away from the stupid baby and think that you're in the clear just to have it come at you immediately again. It's kind of hilarious, actually. Now, when it comes to chaining kills, you're going to want to make sure that you get Devour up as often as possible. That might mean disengaging when the target is really weak, and then just letting the baby get the final damage. It might mean making sure you have mods on your helmet to create orbs of power with kills from elemental weapon types matching your weapon of choice. Sometimes it means throwing a Nova Bomb to get a guaranteed kill as well as Devour on command. You may even toss on some Surge mods to make your weapon even more powerful. Now, I'm making a lot of orbs and getting lots of surge damage because I'm finishing a lot of my matches with anywhere between 20 and 30 actual final blows with the sidearm alone. So it's making orbs, and I'm leveraging those orbs. Now let's hit the second weapon real quick. I tried a lot of weapons with this build for I wanted something that was mid-range to long-range combat to basically give me an option for deploying the Void Soul from a safe distance. I really like the Revision 0 actually with this build. I like a number of high impact and aggressive pulses, but the one I ended up liking the most actually is Outbreak Perfected, and that's because it adds another variable into the fight. The Void Soul is a great distraction and an area lockdown mechanic, and the Siva nanites from the Outbreak also help to enhance that too. It's even more area damage and another thing for the enemy to worry about. It just takes something we already have going for us and leans into it a little bit more. Beyond all that, make sure you're using targeting mods and reload and dexterity mods as you see fit. Those things are pretty vital to any well-oiled PvP build. All in all, I found that I really loved this build for several reasons. One, the pace is just downright fun. It's a super fun cadence, right? Deploy the baby, support the baby, chain the kills, retrieve the baby. It's a lot of what I already love to do in PvP, but given a clear direction and directive, right? It's cohesive and it gives my playstyle even more direct purpose. Another reason I like it is because it's my favorite kind of ability build. It's a build that leverages abilities a lot, but it uses them as a way of enhancing your gunplay, right? The abilities support your gunplay, and that's a great feeling. It's one of the reasons I dislike Checkmate so much, because Checkmate tables a lot of my ability builds that aren't necessarily about spamming lethal abilities, but instead are about taking your gunplay to the next level in a dynamic way. All in all, I hope you enjoy this build as much as I do. I definitely saved it in a loadout slot, and it will be a core part of my PvP experience this season, no doubt. One thing that I did find out is that because of how frequently you're resetting the timer on your Void Soul and you're retrieving it, you may find yourself in a position like this where you put down a healing rift while you already have a Void Soul active. It's actually going to give you a second one. You can see I deploy the rift while I already had a Void Soul active, and then I shoot somebody and it sends out a Void Soul, and I still have a second one perched. You can actually double up on these Void babies if you're staying alive long enough and retrieving your babies. It's kind of crazy, honestly. Anyway, thanks as always for tuning into the video. If you enjoyed it or you liked the build, hey, then please feel free to leave a like on the video and consider subscribing for even more Destiny PvP content and builds. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the Crucible.